Anybody who owns a vehicle and works on it knows that if you find a problem and fix it, you're bound to find another problem. And that's what happened to me. Battery died in my 2020 Jeep Rubicon. And yeah, got some burn up wires on my Maxi-fuses going to my ARB twin compressor. So today, I'm eliminating this. So I started this little project this past weekend when I actually replaced the battery, but I just simply ran out of time. So I decided to make a video out of it. So what I've got are two ARB Maxi-fuses. This is what comes with the that's what comes with the compressor when you purchase it. But the problem is these connections inside, all through here and through here, are crimped. They're not soldered, and what that does is it creates a high current situation, which creates heat. And this could have been a bad day. So what I've got some fuse holders and fuses. These are 40 amp fuses, just like those Maxi-fuses, but these are from Redarc, and I really like their stuff. So hopefully there's enough meat on that that's going to be able to handle the current that the ARB twin's going to pull. I got to run two of these, by the way, because there's one for each motor on the compressor. So my initial plan was to completely eliminate all this, but I don't have ring terminals to fit on my battery. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these pigtails off, and I'm going to reutilize them on the Redarc fuse holders. So let's go ahead and get started with that. So this is 10 gauge wire, and I've got some new 10 gauge wire right here. So I'm just going to make some new extensions. Just cut that right out, and then we'll go ahead and strip these back. Yeah, just, strip them. Oh, come on. Just strip them. I'll be back. Okay, I got them stripped back. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and thread on some heat shrink tube. And I believe this is the heat shrink tube that came with the aux switch package in the Jeep when I bought it. So put it to good use. So the first thing I want to do is tin my wire. So I'm just going to dip it in a little bit of flux, like so. And since I don't have any helping hands, I'll just do it this way. Whoops. So yeah, I tried to do this last weekend utilizing a butane torch lighter, and let me tell you, that don't work. Don't do it. The only reason I tried to do it that way is because I didn't have a soldering iron capable of 10 gauge wire soldering, let alone putting a fitting on the end of it. Yeah, that's what I tried to use. A little $3 special from AutoZone. It didn't work. Don't recommend. Now I'm going to attempt to put some solder in my little ring terminal. So I'm just going to use a screwdriver to get some of this flux into there, like so. I'm kind of questioning at this point whether my soldering iron has enough meat to do this. Well, we'll see. Okay, I just tinned up the tip of my soldering iron. Let's see if we can get this thing to work. Sure is a lot of mass there. Yeah, probably can't see what I'm doing. I don't have a proper workbench. I just use what my wife tells me I can use. Actually, if I didn't have so many toys, I could afford a workbench. It's kind of important to keep as much contact surface area between the soldering, or between your connector and your soldering iron. Yeah, this isn't going to work. Yeah, it's not going to work. Just not enough meat there. Oh well, I'll figure something else out. I even try it with my little torch thing, and I just can't get enough heat into that. Doesn't help that it's only in the 50s today. Yeah, I gotta figure something else out. I'm an electronics technician by trade, so you'd think I'd have the right tools for this. I may have to borrow them from work, because really what we need, I think would work best would be, I call them resist tweezers, but they're basically a resistance tweezer. You put on both sides of that hole there, and it lets current run through the connector, so the connector essentially becomes a soldering iron. And it'll just melt that solder right down. You just dip your wire into it, and yeah, it's all said and done. I may have to try that at work during my break, of course. Alright, I'll have to table this for a little while. So let's discuss why I'm so insistent upon soldering instead of using crimp connectors. This is the original one. And like I said, the base of these Maxi-fuses are they're just spade lugs. I don't even know if I can pull one out. Probably welded in there. There we go. See, they're just spade lugs. And they're just crimped on. There's no solder in there. So that creates a high resistance. High resistance means high current. High current means heat. And that's the result. And you can see down here, I used butt connectors when I originally put this together. And you can see in there where it's actually started to burn at the crimps. And there's all this smuts in here. What that is I used the weatherproof butt connector. So when you take your heat gun or whatever and you melt this heat shrink down, it's got mastic inside or a glue. And it's gotten so hot just from me running it that mastic has actually remelted and oozed outside of the connector. So that's why I'm really insistent upon going the extra mile and getting this soldered in instead of just crimped in. But I gotta get done by this weekend because I'm going for a ride Saturday. And I need my air compressor. Okay, I've changed my mind how we're gonna go about this. I'm not gonna use these pigtails. The only reason I want to keep them is because the ring terminals are the right size, but I got some more. But if we try to build it from there, it's going to connect at that spot, then to our fuse. But then I'm going to have this much distance. Oops, this much distance. I'd have to put in two more splices. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build it from this end. I'm going to put ring terminals here, put on the fuse block, and then I'll just make a jumper long enough to get up to my terminal up here. Okay, so stay tuned. Okay, I did borrow a stronger soldering gun from work. I just had to put new tips on it. This is a Weller 260 200 watt D55 550 D550. There you go. The trick with these is halfway in is full power and all the way in is only moderate power. So it's kind of backwards and not intuitive. So I've already got one of these tinned. I'm going to just tin it up a little bit more. There we go. And put a little bit of flux on this other one. And what the flux does is it helps the solder to flow better and remove contaminants from the wire. Oh yeah, this works much better than the one I was trying to use. I was just using one from Harbor Freight that was only 100 watts, so it was like 1/3 the power of this thing. I'm gonna let those cool off for just a second. I've already put my heat shrink on there. Don't forget to put that on, because once you put the ring terminals on, you're kind of screwed. Uh-oh. Oh well, I'll take that off. So here's one of my ring terminals. This is the one that started to put some solder into it yesterday, and it just didn't work out so good. Alright. I'm going to have to get something to hold those. Hold on. Alright, so I got these spiffy vice grips that don't have any teeth in them. They come in a lot handier than you think they would. And in this case, they come in real handy because all I got to do is just clip onto there, and I'm not going to damage it. So I got to try and get that solder that's down in there melted. And do it in such a way I don't blow up the Jeep. Alright, let's give this a shot. Alright. Now the real trick is getting this onto the wire without burning down the house. Alright, so let's try and get this hot and then placed on that wire. Now, part of the problem is there's a drain hole on the bottom and the solder just wants to suck right down through it. Well, my mother-in-law showed up. She's always got problems with her tens unit. She keeps pressing buttons. But my heat shrink for this wire slid down and is lost back there. I still got this one. Hopefully this will stay. I'm gonna have to wrap this one in electrical wire because I cannot, or electrical tape, because I can't reach it. It's the way it goes. So let's get this one on. So what I need to do is a little bit of flux. A little bit of flux there. We've already tinned this. A little bit of flux down in here. What I'm realizing is I can't tip this up and hold it in this condition straight up and down. Otherwise, all the solder comes out that hole right there. And that don't work. So let me get situated here real quick. I'm getting my little clippy doodad. Clamp this back into place. And we'll just try and get this someplace. There we go. Where I can get solder in it. To tin it, and then we'll stick the wire in there. I'm sure you can't see this, so I'm going to shut it off. Okay, I got everything soldered on. I made sure they weren't cold connected. They're nice and tight. It's a good practice when you're using flux is to clean up your connections afterwards, just to clean the stickiness off. This flux is non-acidic, so it really, if you couldn't do this, it's all right. But if you're using like the stuff they use in plumbing, you definitely want to clean that stuff off. So I'm just going to knock all the stickiness off, make it nice and clean. I'm just using a nylon brush. Use these for cleaning pew dispensers. Alright, there we go. That's clean enough. Okay, like I said, I lost that piece of heat shrink, so I want to go ahead and wrap this up real quick with some electrical tape. I'm just going to cut off a piece. It's a little bit easier to manage when it's not on a roll. A little shaky. Maybe I should lay off the coffee and the monsters, huh? But I'm just doing this to protect this this metal. This can be exposed metal. It won't be exposed once it's actually in the connector. But I want a piece of tape on there. And this one, we're just going to slide this heat shrink up. Get that up there. That doesn't look like it's going to fit. Well, I'll make it fit. You won't learn today. There we go. Got it on. So I'm going to take my handy dandy Harbor Freight Warrior heat gun and give her what for? Alright, now we can make the pigtails for the next part of this. Stay tuned. Alright, I'm going to go ahead, for the sake of being able to measure these things out the way I want them, I'm going to go ahead and connect the fuse and the fuse holder to what we just did. And little OCD about certain things. I want all my connectors to kind of face the same direction, and I feel the same way about anything that has an opening. Like this is going to eventually clip over, so I'm going to put this one on that one exactly the same way. These are a 5/16 nut, by the way. Doo-doo-doo. Good and tight. So those are going to sit in this area together. Alright, next step in this process is to figure out how long I want these pigtails to be. So I'm just going to eyeball it. Not that long. Better to be a little bit too long than to be a little bit too short. Double entendre. Take from that what you will. Alright, so let me just make sure. Yeah, it's weird. I'm OCD about some things and not others. Wire length? Probably just not that big a deal. Alright, I'm back in the garage at my pseudo workbench. These are the lugs that are going on the wire that are going onto the fuse holder, and these are the ring terminals I got to put on the battery side, but I'm going to cut this plastic piece off, so give me a minute. Alright, just so you know, that plastic piece is nothing more than insulator, but I'm going to use heat shrink tubing, and this is specifically designed for 10 and 12 gauge wire. I got a 10 gauge wire which is on the upper end, and that just does fit, so I may not even tin that. I'll just probably solder it as is. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Stand by. Alright, the nice thing here is we haven't got to put a ton of solder into it, but I do want to put a little bit of flux in here. You guys see that? Yeah. Go ahead and do both of them since I'm already here. And I've taken my long piece of heat shrink tubing and basically just split it in two. And get these here spaced fairly close together. I'm doing both at the same time. Spool out some solder. Oops. Pull down. Just needs a little bit more in there. Time for me to get new glasses. I can't see crap out of these. Okay, at this point I'm going to clean them up with a little rubbing alcohol. My pew dispenser brush. Just knock some of that flux out of there. Won't hurt anything if you don't do this. Just technician stuff. Just don't unlearn that very easily. See, that flux comes right off of there. Alright, what you're looking for is a nice, what they call a fillet, so there's no gaps in there. Nice and smooth. Well, there's a little pit. Where's that dirt? Oh, schmutz. Alright, that's what you're looking for. Alright. I'll go ahead and put our heat shrink up. There you go. I've already got my heat shrink on the other side. I just got to strip it back, solder on the connector, and we're done. I'm going to strip those back. I'll be right back. Alright, got to tin these ends up real quick. What I'm going to do is I'm going to dip the whole wire right into the flux Do that for both of them. I'll go ahead and hit these both at the same time. Yeah. Alright. Tinning the wire just makes it easier for when you go to put the connector on. It's all right there. It's got solder in it. I think those terminal lugs are actually made for like 6-gauge wire, so they're huge. As long as you got a good solder connection in there, I wouldn't worry too much about how much of it's filled up. Alright, I'm just going to get our terminal lugs on there now. Hardest part about this is setting your soldering iron someplace it won't catch other stuff on fire. Bad news. I will use a little bit of flux in here. A little bit of flux in here. I'm going to trim this back just a hair. A little bit too long. Still is. A little bit more. There we go. Alright, where's my clampy doodad? Oh, gotta find him. Be right back. Okay, let's hope this goes right. So, I want to kind of get this situated. This is going to take a lot of solder, so I'm going to need to peel a bunch of this off so I'm ready. I want to kind of get this situated so my wires are kind of oriented correctly. And what I'm trying to do is line that wire up so it's going into the terminal lug fairly straight. And not having much luck. And get you guys a good angle. There we go. Let's try that. See if it's... Nope. I guess not. Let's try this. That struggle is real when you got a little bit of OCD. You want things a certain way. I'm sure some people out there can sympathize with that. Alright, let's do this. Oh, it's just not lined up right. Hold on. Alright, let's try this. I'm tired of messing with it. Wow. Drink some more coffee and have some more monsters. Alright, that seems okay. Go on to the next one. You ain't got to watch that. Turns out that heat shrink wasn't big enough to go over that terminal lug, so I'm going to have to put some tape on it. Oh well. Alright, well there's our two pigtails. Let's go back to the Jeep. Alright, so let's get this thing connected up. Remember these guys, right? 5/16. Good and tight. So these Redarc fuse holders and fuses, that kit comes with 2 extra fuses. So it comes with 2 holders and 4 fuses, and of course the hardware to make this thing. There, that's done. Let's do this other one. So I'm really hoping this solves my issue. I'm going to have to keep a close eye on it for a little while. I do use this compressor almost every week, sometimes a couple times a week, because we like to go wheeling. We don't mess around, we just get out there and go do it. And I pretty much always air down if I'm hitting dirt. Oh, come on. Something's preventing me. Alright. Let's just go all ham on it. There we go. Okay, I've already removed the nut here. This is a 12 millimeter socket will take that nut off. And it's however you want to do this as far as, well, that's exposed. I don't like that. I'll take that one off, put some tape on it. That's ugly. Anyway, they're just going to go on there. You just route them whichever way feels best and works out best. I usually put the bigger wires on top. That way I can tuck smaller wires down in these little grooves, like down in there. Now everything bends a little bit. So let me fix this other thing and I'll get back to you. So all I'll do is put a couple wraps of taper on there because that was exposed 12 volts and I don't think that's a good idea at all. Gotta protect that stuff. It won't matter what kind of fuse you got in here. Catch shit on fire. Alright, let's get these guys down in here how I think I want them. Get that guy on there. And, I don't ever use ugga-duggas on batteries. No. Well, that went to the inner reaches of my battery tray, so I had to get my Mr. Finger thingy out. Let's try this again. So, as I was saying, I don't ever use impact wrenches on batteries. I might use a big ass hammer though if this keeps up. I gotta figure something else out here. It's just not all fitting together. Little tunage. That might get me. So, you know, the proper thing at this point is probably to run a bus bar. Because I got so much stuff plugged into this thing. Oh, and I still got one more to go. For Pete's sake. Alright, hold on. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my winch lead and my lead going to my fuse block in the back of the Jeep. I'm just going to run them right here. Got crowded in here all of a sudden. Oh, I took two of them off. I don't know why there's such a big deal with it. Alright, this is 12 millimeter. Snug that down. And I think what I'm going to do is maybe go to this one. So I think that's 12 millimeter as well. Doesn't all come apart and blow up in my face. So yeah, this is a new battery as well. I went with a Everlast from AutoZone because it was spec better than the Mopar one. It had more cold cranking amps, more cold amps, and I believe a longer reserve. So I opted for that. It was $239, I believe, but it's an AGM, and that's what Stellantis is putting in these Jeeps anyway. Is AGM batteries, and the charging system is designed for AGM batteries, so it tops out, well, it's supposed to be 14.4 volts, but it's I've seen it get as high as 14.7 when the battery's in really bad shape. So we'll just go with that. I'm not too worried about this thing as long as all this stuff is secure. Alright, so one thing I want to talk about, since we're already in here, let me just grab you. I isolated my aux battery by removing the thinner cable. This used to be plugged in right here. This goes down to the aux battery. This is the negative for the aux. And then in the fuse box, I removed fuse F42, and it lives right about in this area. You can figure it out for yourself. So if you ever want to just isolate that aux battery, that's all you have to do. If you have a taser, then you can just defeat the ESS inside by pressing the button. And I suspect that little aux battery is what killed my big battery. And it's a very common problem with Jeeps. So just make sure you take the right cable off. You'll know pretty quick. All right. Now, I guess I better check it out first, huh? Let me go do a power check. Okay, let's start this thing up. I have my compressor set up on auxiliary 4. All right, you didn't hear it run because I just had it running a second ago. But my aux 4 switch will only operate when the Jeep is running, and I do that because each one of those compressors, and there's 2 of them, are pulling like 35 amps each. So that's like 70 amps coming through your battery. So you really, really want to have your vehicle running so that the alternator can take care of business. All right, let's go back here. So I'm just going to take this air fitting and stick it in here. You can hear the... Well, if you were wearing earbuds at that point, I'm sorry. But as you can see, it works. Compressor is mounted underneath this. Of course, I've got the American Adventure Lab doohickey with power. That was that other cable you saw up front. ARB outlet. Another ARB outlet down here, but that one's not working so good. I either need to rebuild it or replace it. And they're not cheap, so I'll probably rebuild it. But that's pretty much it. I mean, that's in a nutshell. We've replaced the Maxi-fuses with the Redarc fuses. I think it's a more elegant solution. Yeah, I'm not disappointed with that. Good Lord. Oh, Jesus. All right, so there you have it. We've replaced Maxi-fuses with the Redarc fuses, and I think it's a more elegant solution. Hopefully you enjoyed that, got something out of it. Maybe it's something you want to pursue, I don't know. Either way, like, comment, subscribe. Till next time.